Hey, 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 I am Brianna Harmon, and this is the Millennial Mommies Club, an original podcast dedicated to all of the millennial mommies out there killing the game. Whether you are single, married, or expecting, this is the place to be during your 15 minutes of downtime. Welcome to the Millennial Mommies Club.
I'm a fun mom.
I am a patient mom.
I am a conscious mom.
I'm a creative mom.
I'm a millennial mom.
What's up, mamas, and welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Mommies Club on Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network. I am here today with tears because this is our last episode for this season, and I am going to miss you, mamas, but guess what? All that means is we are getting ready for season 2, so today will be our last episode. But with that, we had to bring you a special episode, one that we have not had on our show this whole season, one that I'm excited to learn about myself. We have two beautiful women, Nyesha and Samantha. You all are two LGBTQ women who are raising a beautiful daughter. Welcome to the Millennial Mommies Club.
Thanks so much for having us, Bree. We appreciate it.
Yes, I'm super excited because this is something that, like I said in the intro, we haven't talked about this before, and I have questions. I want to know just how the whole process began. But before we get there, let's talk about you two and just your journey as a lesbian couple.
Okay, sweet. So, do you want to jump in, babe?
No, you can start. Let's see if it's accurate.
Let's see, because we have different opinions and things like that. So, I identify as queer, and as, of course, a Black woman, I just had to grow up with being Black, being queer, figuring it out. But my wife and I, we got together when I was 20. So that was, oh my gosh. We've been together for 12 years. I'm thankful for that. 12 years. Just highs, lows, positives. We have a home in Georgia now with our 4-year-old daughter. So we can dig deep, but that's literally the gist of it.
I want to get deep.
Yeah.
Go a little deeper. I mean, that's definitely the surface layer. That's a nice way to tell us, hey, this is us. But I want to know, I know it has not been that easy, and just this beautiful rainbow of like just simple, right? Because you guys are African American women. Not only that, you are queer. So with that, how has that been when you guys told your family, your friends, hey, we want to have kids?
Oh, wow. I actually talked about this the other day. I literally sent out my wedding invitation as my coming out speech to my family.
So you hadn't told them?
No, I'm sorry. Just everyone has to say that they're with a man. Like, I don't understand why I have to advertise that. Yeah. So I just literally sent out the wedding invitations to my family. Plus, we're from Jamaica, so it's not something that I knew that would be accepted right away. So I sent it out, and then that's how they knew, and they just had to deal with it ever since.
Wow, what did they say? What was the reaction? You're giving me very like, okay, they accepted it and we were cool.
Well, I don't know about accept it. Well, I think, you know what I would say, time has definitely helped. I don't think I realized that I didn't give them that much time to actually go through the process. But like my father, he acknowledges my child. He acknowledges my wife. Can he say that I have a daughter that's married to a woman yet? I don't think that's there. Wow. My mother is different. She loves us. She took us into the house, so we lived with my mom, so she was able to accept it. But the family over time has been able to kind of like figure out how to make it work for them, because we are consistent. Yeah. We've been together. We've lasted longer than most of their relationships, so I guess, 2 women might work.
Yeah. I mean, and so Nyesha, how did like your family take it? What did your family say when you said, hey, not only am I lesbian, queer, I've also found a wife and I'm about to get married and now we want to have kids?
Yeah, oh my goodness. So all of that within years' time. So thankfully, I came out to my mom when I was 15. Okay. And it was very simple. I'm not sure if y'all remember Degrassi, The Next Generation.
Yes, of course.
So when the characters came out, unfortunately, his family disowned him. So I said, Mom, I'm in my room. She's in her room. Mom, how would you feel if I was gay? And she was like, are you trying to tell me that? I said, yes. You're my daughter. I already know that. I was like, oh, she knew already. How did she know? Okay, so I'm thankful my mom's supportive ever since I was a teen. The only one who, and it's hard for me to say issue, but that just didn't understand it was my Nana, my father's mom. She was like, I can't take it, old school quote unquote ways. She just didn't believe it. When I told her Samantha and I were going to have a baby eventually, she was like, that's preposterous. Literally, that's crazy.
Wow.
She didn't accept it. Literally, I shared this. I was just talking to my therapist about this last week until her deathbed. She was dying. She was in the hospital. And when her doctor came in, she said, "This is my granddaughter, Nyesha, and this is her wife, Samantha." And I was like, "Oh, shit." She just said, "This is my wife. Like, this is her wife."
Goodness.
So, yeah, it took her a while, obviously. But I just hope that she knows that I'm happy. I'm not doing anything wrong. We're just living.
Man, and then after that, baby comes, and we're saying, okay, we want to have a baby.
Yeah.
So we've transitioned from just telling everybody, now going through the wedding. How soon after did you guys decide we want to have kids?
I think from maybe the second week of, I've always wanted kids. So that was part of my conversation that we had when we got together. I'm like, listen, I want to get married. I want to have kids, multiple. So we're still working on that.
Okay, more.
Yes, please help me. But I want to have as far as kids, and I want to, buy a house together. I want to start a new life. So that's something we talked about within 2 weeks of our relationship. And I think it's important to have that conversation with individuals. I know it's not recommended for some people because they may not be ready for that at that point, but I needed to know that was a long-term goal for us.
Yeah, but now I want to go into a deeper, kind of harder conversation, going out in public as two women with a baby. I can only imagine stares. I can only imagine negative comments, or even maybe social media and things like that, where people are having so many bad things to say about raising a child as two moms. So did you guys have any moments where you might have been fearful of going out in public and saying, we got a baby and we're going through this process?
I think we went out in private before we went out in public. I think it's important to have confidence at that time, and just being love yourself. I think in our beginning relationship, we learned how to love each other and love ourselves. So when the world had something else to say, we were ready for it. So I think that was a process that we made. That, especially me, I was very self-conscious of making sure that especially coming from a Caribbean background, because they got an opinion about everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more important with that. But I don't know. I don't know if sometimes but I forget that people have an issue or concern with the way that I live my life. I don't usually spend as much time on what people think.
Yeah.
But I've realized through time, the more we live in our truth, the more other people have learned how to accept it. We've literally had people come and apologize to us for not coming to our wedding and not being open to it at first. And I think it's just because we just chose to still live, but not necessarily be upset, even though it did hurt, But I think because we chose to live and live in happiness, eventually, if you want happy people around you, you're going to surround yourself that. Yeah. And that's but we also created our community outside. At our wedding, maybe I had one cousin on my father's side, and that's the Caribbean side. And then my mother, maybe I had about 5 people, but we had 150 people at our wedding.
Oh, wow.
So
the support was still
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
And I am so sorry, I forgot the question.
No, we were just talking about the negative comments that come to queer couples, and then now bringing a baby into it. There's always something that someone will have to say. You even look at Disney and all the shows that are coming out, and they're saying, take that off the air, and there should not be those type of episodes. Absolutely. That's kind of what we're discussing right now.
Thank you for that. I was just mesmerized by just hearing my wife talk and just dig deep on it. And it's so interesting you say Disney. Even in Florida, of course, they're banning African American history books, but there can be a child cannot say that they're gay in school without the teacher having to report it to their parent. So I'm thankful. I know I would never move to Florida because that's a problem, So we never really had negative comments toward us. Of course, people had said things on their own, but we live in our truth. You want to accept it or not. You want, if it's a business, you want our business or not. If it's a family member, do you want our support or not? We just keep it moving. The only thing we have to I'll say for myself, I have to just case out is the school.
Yes.
That our daughter's in, the daycare. So I'm like, okay, she has 2 moms. What's the deal? How do you feel about that? Yeah. And if I feel any negativity, I know that's not a place for us. Thankfully, I have not felt that. There was one time we were invited to a church we were in New York City. The after school was in the church. And they said, okay, great, we'd love to invite you. I said, okay, we're open, just to let you know we are a 2-mom household. How do you feel about that? Well, it's not something that we could accept, but, just come on in. I said, well, we actually won't be here.
Yeah. How can you say we can't accept that, but come on in? That doesn't make sense.
So I just make sure I put it up front, and if someone isn't happy for that, then they don't need our presence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Abigail, she's 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you guys prepare, or have you guys explained already you have two mommies and it's a little bit different? What does that conversation look like?
I think it's not really a conversation because to her this is normal, and I think that's where people feel like you have to have a conversation. Like, she's used to people having two moms. She thinks having a dad is different. Like, she looks at other people's households.
Why don't
like,
you have two
she's like, why don't
moms?
they have two moms? Like,
Yeah.
why don't, like, she literally asked us when I went to like a family, like, why don't they have two moms? So it's also explaining like there are differences in families and differences in households, because this is her norm. So I think it's interesting when people are concerned about like how kids and the way they grow up, they don't actually they learn what you teach them.
Yeah.
So yeah, but she's very vocal. Like this, she can handle her own at 4.
But I want to just backtrack really quick, because when she was younger, Baby Shark, was and still is a thing. And there's no Mommy Shark and Mommy Shark. It was Baby Shark, Mommy Shark and Daddy Shark. She's like, well, I want a dad. Where's Daddy Shark? I want a dad. And we have to explain to her, like, some households, how we broke it down. Some households have 2 parents. Some have 1. Some have a grandma. Some have 2 moms. So I broke it down to her, like, not every household is just like ours. Then one day we were actually in Jamaica, and she was crying, I want a dad. It's because of the media. She sees it. So this girl came to her. She was like, you have 2 moms? Girl power. And I was like, well, it came from another kid that actually helped us. And, she rides with it. But I know she's only 4 now. But eventually she's going to still have more questions. And we're very open. In addition, we still have a communication relationship with our donor. If you want to dig deeper later on. But if he eventually wants to meet with her,
I want to go into that now, because obviously sometimes I know there's ways where you can take both of your eggs or do something, and there's so many ways to be. I'm not gonna act like I know, because I don't. I just know a little bit. So explain to me just how the process went. Who decided to have the baby? The conversation, like, just tell me how did Abigail get here?
Yes.
Well, it was definitely a process. Like, I think, like, with us, we have to think about it. So, Nyesha didn't really want children. Nope. It took a lot of, convincing to have her want children. But I think once that shifted, then I was like, all right, now we have to go through that process. I will say, like, when you go as far as like shopping for sperm, like, it's actually like a thing. It's like literally like shopping for a handbag. Like, you get to choose what color, what
color is it? What color the dad?
What color
Even their eyes,
features, their eyes, the height, like all of it. So that was.
Time out. Is it a checklist where
It's
you
a
guys
checklist.
write down?
You just check it, like, I need you 6 foot. Okay, I need you to be able to read and write. Have some, as far as like your education.
Yep.
Did you guys fight about some things? Like, no, I want her short. I want her tall. I want her this color. Okay.
No, we didn't necessarily fight about that. I think it was more of that process itself. Like, I wanted a known donor, so that also like limits your options as well when it comes to as far as like the sperm bank. Like, that was very important to me, because like I have friends who've been adopted, and I have people that don't know who their biological parents is, and I know that's a want and need that for anyone at some point in their life. So I wanted like Abby to be able to have access to her genes and the family that goes along with that. So I've always been open to that. So we wanted a known donor. We did ask a couple of our friends, and one was. They 2 of them didn't have kids, so they were like, they wanted the child for the whole summer, or they wanted the child for like, and I really wish we would have went with that option, because then I could have got a whole summer off, I could have got a 2 weeks vacation and not have to worry about it. Yeah. So I didn't put that much thought, but I think if I would have known now what I knew then, I would have definitely signed up for those individuals to be the donor. But the person that we did, as far as like choose, was also as far as like a friend, and he also has a child. So I think that made a difference, but it's the biggest blessing that we had, and definitely. I'm very grateful for that.
So you did not know him, or you did know him, the sperm donor?
So, no, we do know him. Yeah.
Okay, so when before we actually got the option to work with him, before we were going on California Chiro Break. That's a huge sperm bank that people are aware of. So when we were going on California Chiro Break, literally choosing the donor, we were like, as you said, a checklist. Black, of course we were going, that's like not without an option for us. Black, tall, or, do they have a high school diploma? Known donor was an option, an unknown donor. We said, okay, we want known. What limited our choices from like maybe like 800 was the height. I wanted someone 6 feet and above. My dad passed away, and I was like, let's keep it going. Let's get the height going. So we chose, I think, like over 6 feet. We had probably like 20 options, and I was like, oh, snap. Yeah. And I'm not sure if people know, but a vial of sperm, they say have 4. So the first one doesn't work, choose the next one. Sorry, the first one doesn't work, choose the next one. So a vial of sperm costs $800. So these men doing what they do, okay, that's $800. Okay, so we were like, dang. And that's just the vial. You also have to ship it. You also have to freeze the remaining that you don't use. So this was an expensive process. However, we were willing to do it. However, we found out our insurance was not going to cover anything.
What?
Yeah, so that was really, really damper. But then we spoke to, Samantha had a great connection. Of course, we both of us had a connection to an older couple. They're probably like 20 years older than us, and the same-sex couple, they have 3 children. And they were like, just do the turkey-baster method. And we were like, that really works? It really works? Yes. So they said, get a mug, let the man do his thing, and put that in.
I thought when the sperm comes out though and it's loose, it dies.
That's what I thought as well. But they said warm up the mug, okay, and then it has to be really literally right there. So Sam had to be in that position, ready. He did his thing in the living room. I'm open book. He did his thing in the living room, gave it to me, and I put it in. And then actually at one point, we went through a couple of moments. One time it actually spilled out, and I was like, "Oh!"
So wait, you guys had to have him do it a couple times?
Yeah.
Okay, so time out. I'm visualizing.
Yeah, visualize it.
All right,
visualize
so
it.
You got man on the couch.
Yep.
Doing his thing.
Yep.
Sam's right there holding the cup. Mm-hmm. It jumps in the cup or gets in the cup. So you're looking at everything. He's putting it in the cup. Then you get the turkey base, and you immediately.
Well, we actually use a syringe.
Syringe. Mm-hmm. Okay, you immediately suck it out, and then do you shove it right up her?
Yes. But one time I was moving too fast and it came right out. So I'm like, this beautiful imagine $800 worth of sperm came right out. Yeah.
So then, but you have to be ovulating, correct?
Yes. So we had to follow. We had to track.
We didn't realize that at first.
No, the first time.
We just tried it.
Oh.
Yeah. So we had to get.
Educated. We had to
organize
ourselves. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that also takes away from like the flow of having like a child.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I mean, you kind of got the opportunity to get
her
pregnant.
Yes. I helped, right?
You technically got her pregnant. Now, how many tries did it take before you actually was like, I got a blue line, I'm positive, I'm pregnant?
I think we started maybe like about 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah, about 6 months in the process. That doesn't mean we did it every month, but it was probably multiple times.
Yeah, and I'm sure it cut your costs completely in half.
Absolutely.
Instead of having to go pay $800 every time to get sperm.
It cut it drastically. Absolutely. And I'm thankful our donor, like you said, she had to be ovulating. And, we live probably about an hour and a half away. We're like, okay, at this time, we got to go to work. And at this time, she's at peak ovulation. Can you come over, please? Yeah. And he was ready for us. And I'm so thankful. We wouldn't have our child without him.
There's literally so much more I want to get into.
Yes.
I want to know just how you are prepping her to be able to have this baby. Samantha, you're going through the process, what that was like before, what was that like after, your whole body changes. I know you are with Black mental, oh my God, Therapy for Black girls, excuse me. And we deal with postpartum, how that was like for you, if you ever dealt with it. So we're just going to get back into all that after we take this quick break. I'm still over here thinking about the whole sperm in the cup, and then you got what? But listen, we'll be right back. You guys are listening to the Millennial Mommies Club on Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network.
You are listening to the Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network.
Welcome back, mamas, to the Millennial Mommies Club. We are here getting deep and deeper into this understanding of being able to raise a daughter with 2 women. Now, you told me a little bit of the process and how you guys were able to find your donor, go through it. Now, Samantha, you actually carried your daughter, so I'm pretty sure that came with its own emotional changes, whether pre and post baby. But before we get into that, I want to go into the donor. Now, you guys are in a situation where you adopted your baby, so you have all the rights. He has no rights. Why was that even a situation for you to be able to adopt your daughter from him?
Yeah, so since Samantha, she's birth mom, so I had to adopt her to remove all his legal rights toward, from our daughter. So I always joke, if she becomes Beyonce, he can't say that's my child. Not at all. Okay, but on the legal stance, That was my joke, but it's absolute truth. But on the legal stance, if we were some shady people, we can technically go for child support from him because he is the parent, and what he gonna say? He can say anything because he is the parent. So, let's keep this calm for everyone. As soon as Abigail was born, within the first maybe 6 months, we had our lawyer, which people think is expensive. It's not expensive. It's about a month's rent. Save it up. Do a GoFundMe for that, okay? And get your family together. So this is going to protect you and your child and the donor in the future. Yeah.
Do you recommend, or I wouldn't say recommend, but do you think that this is something that all sperm donors should do?
I do recommend that. And also for the other parent, because technically I am not a parent of her. If something would have happened to her in the hospital, it's only family members. Who am I? I'm just this person, and, my name is on the birth certificate. If anything were to happen in school, I'm there.
Yeah.
Also, like, adoption trumps birth certificate. So it's important, like, as far as legal aspects, like, if you're adopting someone, you have more rights than somebody who's on the birth certificate. And plus, like, when you deal with, like, international laws, or even, like, with the fact that they change the U.S. laws every 20 seconds, especially when it comes to, like, our relationship and how we have kids and how we parent, it's important to have certain things that can override that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, was that a long process?
No. Well, the longest was me getting the paperwork in. They were waiting on me. And our lawyer, she was great. She was like, just send you a gentle nudge. So I would say before Abigail turned 1, all rights were sent over.
Wow.
Yeah, thankfully.
That is amazing. I wouldn't even thought about that, because imagine how many sperm donors could be put on child support after having kids. So that's for all my gentlemen out there. If you're thinking, $800 a sperm, let me go be a donor, make sure that you get your parents or information paperwork in, so that now you guys cannot be charged or be able to have to pay child support for all these kids. Imagine.
Yeah, I just want to confirm, I am unsure how it is when someone gets sperm from a sperm bank. I'm sure they handle that legality, in the sperm bank. Since we did a known donor and we knew this person, it's different. So just confirm, every situation is different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Samantha, let's talk about you carrying the baby.
Yes.
What did that feel like for you, being able to just house this beautiful baby for 9 months?
It was interesting because most people don't think I carried Abigail. If you ever meet her, she's tall. She has a personality of 9. She has my sarcasm. That's probably about it. But I think I've always wanted to have a child. So I think going into pregnancy I was very conscious of it. But throughout, like, the first trimester of pregnancy, like, I felt like everything was amplified. So because I'm usually reserved, I'm not usually the vocal one. I'm, like, pregnant. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't even want to be touched. Like, we used to lay in bed. I'm like, don't touch me. Don't sit next to me. Which is, like, odd because usually people want to be. Everyone has their own different experience. But I've heard you're, like, very loving and very.
I was for both
Yes.
my kids.
Okay.
I wanted affection. I wanted attention. I wanted to be snuggled all the time. So
No.
that's different.
Yeah, so I wanted you like away from me. I didn't even want to be in the same bed. Like, and it got. I think the second trimester it was like a little bit better, but at the third trimester I just went back to like the first one.
Wow.
So I think that was something that I didn't necessarily anticipate or expect. But being pregnant, I will say I had a good journey. I think pregnancy also, like, us being, like, married and having a child, that also, like, solidifies our relationship from our family. So I think they also looked at, like, okay, well, they really are together, or they really are going to stay together.
Yeah.
So I think that also changes the way that they looked at my family. Not saying to have a child to do that, but it definitely changed how they communicated with me, because they wanted to make sure they were involved in her life.
Wow. Now, how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
Knowing that those moments where she wanted to be alone. She didn't want to be bothered by you. I guess because I'm a loving person, I would be mad and sad and like, I can't do anything because I don't know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So how did you feel in that process?
Like you said, I was mad and sad. I was like, really? Like, I just want to be next to you. And, like, you have this living being growing inside of you. I wanted to be there, but Sam, I'm not gonna lie, my wife is a little rude. Outside of pregnancy, of course, she was even more rude when she was pregnant. So I had to just, take it. She was experiencing something new. I'm like, okay, just have to take it.
Did at any point you want to be pregnant?
So I did not, but then I was like, okay, I want to. I went to different things. So then we actually attempted again with our same donor, because we were like, let's try to do this. We actually had a midwife involved this time, just to hopefully, I don't even know why, to hopefully speed up the process. I'm not sure. And after about 2 attempts, I'm not sure if I still don't know if I want to use the word gave up, but I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was also a weird dynamic because we're approaching the pandemic, but we didn't know that was going to happen. Our donor was in the bathroom. My wife, mother-in-law, and midwife are downstairs, and my child. My child is eating, and my legs are up in the bedroom. I'm like, this is weird. Like, as Sam mentioned, like, when the way we conceive children, it's totally, there's no romance within it. You can make it romantic, but come on now. Like, he's in the bathroom ejaculating into a cup. My mother-in-law is downstairs asking us what we want for dinner. That is weird as hell.
Oh
so, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if I gave up, but I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I don't need another child. Now, Samantha, she wants three, so she wants 2 more children.
Wow.
I am okay with 1 more. And we go back and forth. So before it was like we don't have enough space. Now we have a 4-bedroom home, which I'm very thankful for. And I said, our car.
8-passenger car.
I was gonna say our car is not big enough. We have an 8-passenger car.
So it sounds like you now have to just be like, okay, I'll give you what you want.
So we now I say we have to bring our income because now we're business owners. So we have to bring our business income up, our personal income up. And she's like, it's gonna happen. So I was like, okay. So a child comes. So I just want to be honest. I'm not bringing anything up. When child comes, child comes.
And we think Sam's gonna carry the rest of them, just because, not that you've given up, but right now it's just like, I'm okay.
I'm okay. If we also talked about adopting because I feel like I'm gonna start over. Abigail's gonna be 5 in 3 months. Like,
you gotta go now.
Yes, I wanna go now. Like, your children are 1 year apart, right? Come on.
Yeah, I said literally, I want a boy, right?
Okay.
I just don't want another baby daddy.
Yes.
So that's just being blood raw.
Yes,
I don't want another
yes.
baby daddy. So for me, I always said, well, man, if I get out of that 5-year-old window, I don't want to start over because of the fact that my children will be 4 and 5. They're now starting to be a little more independent, to go back into diapers, to go back into the whole process. I don't want to do that. So because of that, if I don't find a husband, if I don't find a man, by the time my baby's turned 4 and 5, I'm good. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and close up shop. Unless I get married and he's like, I want kids. But I want to find someone that has kids already so that we kind of have that experience and we don't really need our own little thing right
There we
now.
go.
So
I love that you have boundaries because you're going to go into this relationship, into this new world knowing exactly what you want.
Exactly. But girl, that still come with like, God be doing things where he says, remove that list, remove the way you want it to be. I'm going to give you what I give you. So who knows what God has for me. But back to you all. So Samantha, you had Abigail and now you're transitioning to post. There are some things that we've experienced, I'm pretty sure, postpartum. Was there any postpartum or any moments where you were just, who's Samantha? What am I gonna do right now? My body's different. I'm breastfeeding. All these emotions. And how did you navigate dealing post baby?
I think like, especially when you brought up as far as like the list, I realized the list is kind of like what helped me in that process. So what I did was like, I've heard a lot of people as far as like go through postpartum, and it was something that I was very conscious of going through the whole pregnancy. So I developed a list of childcare of people that were going to help me throughout that process so I can have that time like with my wife after. And so that I can have that support, but not necessarily have to have necessarily strangers watch my child at that early age. So like, that's what I developed as far as like, okay, at the baby shower, like, this diaper bag is great, but when are you watching our child? Because she's a community child. And I think it's important for people to understand that she is a community child, and who you surround your kids by is who they become. So it's important for me to develop that community so she has that support and she has that positive influence at all aspects of her life. Because most of my life, especially when I gained an opinion, I stopped listening to my parents. So whoever she talks to outside of that is very important to me. Because I think like there comes a point where she's gonna listen to them more than she listens to us. So that's something that I talked about. But so we went on date night, 2 weeks after. Like I have no issues handing over my child to the assigned people on that list. But that was important. I think that helped. I created a circle of people that were able to support. I had people that I called. I'm a phone person. So I call people every 2.5 seconds. I think like that helped. I also had a supportive spouse that understood that, you know, we're going to take turns with it. So we took turns at nighttime so we could get a little extra 2 hours rest. But I realized that I was privileged in my journey because of what we had set up. I have a supportive spouse. I have, you know, a mother that was, as far as I think she was retired at the time or going into, she was retired. And she didn't get to raise us. My grandmother raised us. So it was more of, hey, this is your time to pay back what your mother did for you. So here you go, here's a child. But I think like those things are important. But I realized that not everyone has that. And even if they do, it's probably not the influence that they want their child to grow up with. Because aura matters, environment matters. And then we had a doula. Another thing is that we had a doula throughout our process and a doula that worked for me. So I think that's also was helped throughout that process as well.
Did you do a natural birth?
Yes.
What?
I did not. In a birthing center.
Birthing center.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a natural birth. It's funny because we wrote a children's book, Two Mommies A Baby.
Oh, we were coming to that next. Don't worry.
But it talks about like our journey. So we wrote the book while I was pregnant and literally like how we interacted. Like I had her in the birthing center, and in the book it talks about how I had her with like in a pretty much like that version of a birthing center. I had a midwife, so it was literally I wrote how I would have my child, and it was like a great experience.
So is your book? Let's talk about that now. Let's get into it. Is your book geared towards children to read this, or parents who may be in this experience to understand how to navigate it and learn how you got through it?
I think for me, like our book was similar to my wedding invitation. Like it's more of to have people realize that, you know, even though families are different, we're also the same. So the same way you think about, some people think about having a child and want that in the future is the same way I thought about having a child and wanting in the future. So within the book, it talks about us just wanting to have a child and going through that process because it is that simple. So I think that's what like my focus on in the book, to really just get people to realize that it's that simple. And if you just realize that we're all human and we just have different likes and wants, that the world could be like a lot better.
So just really quick, the book is, of course, it is digital. Sorry, not digital. It is. I was trying to say, it's like animation. That's what I'm trying to say. It's geared to children. I understand that literally everyone needs to read this book because it talks about a doula. Some people still don't know what a doula is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And also just understand that we are just people. You know. So we tell the children, you know, we saw another family have children. We're like, wow, we want children too. You know, and we don't explain the process within the book, but it's literally like, you know, we had a baby and we're all happy and we're just happy in the village. So yeah, it's called The Story of Two Mommies and a Baby.
Yes, that is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, you work therapy for Black girls. Tell me how therapy helps, or like us mommies, because we talk about it all the time on the show where we say therapy, get in therapy, either get in it post, get in it pre, try to find the community, and you have a huge following for women to come to you. How did you kind of navigate therapy with your wife to be able to get out and move up and keep going after the baby?
Great question. So I started therapy when Abigail was maybe 6 months. You know, it was literally a new human being in our lives. We were together for 8 years before she came in. I was like, well, you know, you taking my wife away from me. Okay. So I had to, and then also we didn't solidify like how our communication was with our donor, you know, just like things have to just be clear. You know, when I said the lawyer documentation, like let's just solidify this. So I was like, okay, things are in my head. Like, what am I going to do? Let me go find a therapist. Thankfully, I was not a part of Therapy with Black Girls team when I found my therapist in 2018. But it was just my own journey. So, and just respectfully, of course, my wife knows I asked her to go to couples therapy. She did not want to. So I was like, okay, that's totally understandable. I'm just going to be on my own journey. You know, and I think a lot of people need to realize that. If your partner, even if you're a parent, it doesn't have to be couples therapy. If someone you have not conflict, but if you're in a specific relationship with that you're hoping to fix, if they don't want to go to therapy, you can still work on yourself. It's going to help you grow. And I know therapy has helped me grow. I've been in therapy since 2018, bi-weekly, faithfully.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And I guess, how did you guys get over that hump then? Because I know me personally, it took me a minute with my child's father when I'm like, hey, you need therapy. We need therapy. Let's go now. I would get upset. I would be mad. And I would feel like, well, you don't want to fix yourself, or you don't want to fix this because you're not willing to go.
Yeah.
How did you accept that and just say, all right, whatever? Like, do you think maybe she'll come around? Do you keep trying? What happened?
I had to back off. She told me, she was like, you need to stop telling me that.
Yeah.
And I had to listen, and according to her, I've gotten better. So we didn't go to couples therapy. I'm sorry, I take that back. We went to 2 separate therapists. The first one, she was like, yeah, bring your child. So our child was like literally running around. It sounded great, but it didn't feel great to me. So then we found another therapist, and Sam was just sitting there. Yes, no.
But she
yes,
gave
no.
great feedback because it was an intro session, and one thing she said, she thinks I should go to individual therapy before we go to couples therapy, which is what I was telling as far as like, nah, it's not that.
I don't agree
I
with
don't.
that.
At some point in our relationship, it came to a time where, and the reason why I didn't want to go to therapy because I felt like it would be a waste of money because I wasn't ready to talk.
Yeah.
So I think like you have to be ready.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to waste no $200,
Yep.
whatever the hourly session is. I need to make sure it's worth my time.
Yep.
Yes.
So if I'm not ready, it honestly doesn't make, because a lot of people waste money on therapy sessions because the person isn't ready.
Yeah.
So it needs to get to a point where I was ready, and then we went to a couples therapy. And when we went there, like she was, I think that one session did help us a bit because we were able to see like she was able to expose things as far as like within our lives that is affecting like our relationship. But I think it was the couples therapy introduction that we had where she was more telling us that I'm not. She pretty much told Nana that I wasn't ready and I should go to individual therapy. And I think because she said that, I was more inclined to go, and eventually I found I'm not going to research and the paperwork and all that. So actually my wife found my therapist.
Nice.
I miss her because we moved. Hopefully
we
she can move
moved.
to Georgia. But I haven't found a new one since then, but we had a short journey, but I do think that journey has definitely impacted like my life. And
And that's actually true because so my child's father, he ended up coming around and we did couples therapy.
Okay, yeah.
When we went to couples therapy, we did 4 sessions and they were good. But what our therapist told us too was he needs to go by himself and you need to go by yourself. We see you guys trying together, but there's some blockage here. And what our couples therapist that we went to was a man and a woman, and they actually broke us up. So an hour for him with the man, an hour for me with the woman, and then we came together for a session where we all talked about what we just did.
Interesting. Okay,
Sessions.
yeah.
So that was good because he got to release by himself with that gentleman. I didn't like it a little bit because I felt like, what if you go say something over there and she don't tell him, or you guys don't bring it back. So now I feel like we still have secrets. But it was needed because they need, or Samantha, like you said, you need to be ready. You need to be able to release first, and then we can see how we can bring you all together. So that is a good point that you brought up. But you two just seem truly like amazing women. Not only that, raising an amazing daughter, the village that you guys have, the support that you guys seem to have together. I want to thank you just so much and give you your flowers today for coming on this show. And just wishing you all so much like love, happiness, and greatness throughout the rest of your journey.
Thank you so much, Bree. We appreciate it. And thank you so much for having us on. Like, this happened so quick.
Yes.
We were at an event.
I met you gotta be me. It was like, boom, boom, I want you on the show. That's simple.
Yeah, and I was just going up to you saying thank you for, your mom, we're moms. Thank you for being here. Like, literally. So this is great. Thank you for having us. And, if there's anyone who needs support, there are people who reach out to us. They come out the closet and their parents don't accept them. Just reach out to us via DM because, we've been through that journey. We're still on that journey. There's still some people who don't love our relationship, but that's okay. We love ourselves, and go from there.
And you still gonna have the support regardless.
Thank
you guys
you.
have built a village. You guys have built your team, and that's all that matters. So please just let them know where they can follow you.
Yeah.
Also where they can find the book, where they can support everything that you guys have going on.
Thanks so much, Bree. So you can follow us on Instagram at 2 Mommies and a Baby. That's TWO, Mommies and a Baby. And our children's book can be purchased at diversebooksmatter.com.
So well, thank you guys so much again. And mamas, I'm going to miss you for the rest of this season. But guess what? We're going to get bigger. We're going to get better. And there's so much more to come for season 2. So you guys are listening to the final episode of this season of the Millennial Mommies Club on Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network.